There are strong exotics and there are weak exotics. If you grabbed any random player out of the tower and put them on the spot by asking them, what's the best exotic in D2? Odds are they'd maybe say something predictable and basic like Gallarhorn or Stillhunt, or maybe even pre-nerfed Divinity before a certain pasta-making content creator decided to ruin it for literally everyone. And for the record, I have no problem with the big fancy and flashy exotics that have very much earned their spots in the Exotic Weapon Hall of Fame. But we're not here to talk about them today. Today we're going to talk about great exotics that deserve more spotlight. Underappreciated support monsters that shine bright in endgame content. Capping it all off with one that I feel deserves more love than any major flagship exotic you could possibly name. Why don't we kick off our list with one that has become a go-to staple of mine over the years, the Aeon Exotic Gauntlets. You didn't think the list was going to be all weapons, did you? Unique in the fact that they're completely identical across all three classes, the Aeons bring a lot of versatility to the table. One of the only exotics to give you a choice in how you use it, here's option number 1, Sect of Vigor, which is recovery focused. Anytime an ally dies or you revive an ally, you gain damage resist and a set amount of class ability energy, with a revive giving an increased amount of class ability energy. Any teammate that is critically wounded nearby also gains damage resist, which can be a nice save in a lot of situations. As an extra bonus, any teammate who happens to be wearing Aeons as well, but does not have Sect of Vigor turned on specifically, will gain class ability energy as well as DR when critically wounded. If you were wondering, the DR numbers are actually very generous. If your ally dies or if you revive an ally, you automatically get 40% damage resist. And remember that DR in Destiny 2 stacks with other sources of DR. Allies at critical health near you are only granted 25% DR, but even still, getting free damage resist is literally always viable and appreciated in rougher PvE content, especially considering you really don't have to play any differently than you normally would to get it. And if you aren't proccing Sect of Vigor, hey, good news, that means you're doing great. The next Aeon option is Sect of Force. Hitting rapid precision hits on an enemy grants you reload and weapon swap speed. Hitting rapid precision hits on a powerful combatant, any elite or mini-boss will mark that enemy, increasing the damage your teammates do to that enemy. As an added bonus, any teammate running a different Aeon Sect will gain their full grenade and melee after 3 seconds whenever you first mark an enemy. Unlike the last perk that served as a recovery method and a safety net, Force serves as a team focus perk, meant to get your team to focus on a single enemy and burn them down quickly. The numbers on Force are actually pretty good. According to the Destiny Data Compendium, a marked target will remain marked for a whopping 30 seconds and will take an additional 20% more damage from your allies, and that effect stacks with everything. The grenade and melee ability energy is also quite nice, around 33% nade and melee ability energy per second for 3 seconds. I think if you've never really fiddled around with Aeons before and you want to dip your toes into the water, Sect of Force is an excellent place to start, letting you set up your teammates with a free damage boost on demand. You're kind of like that guy in volleyball who sets up near the net and just sets up an easy spike every time. The final Aeons perk is the most well-known of the bunch, and for good reason. Sect of Insight. Successive headshot weapon kills have a chance to drop an orb of power. Just kidding, no one actually really cares about that part. Although now to think of it, it is funny that it already kinda outshines Crest of Alpha Loopy before even getting to the good part. Sorry, not sorry. Anyway, using a finisher on an elite will generate special ammo for your fire team. Using a finisher on a boss or mini-boss will generate heavy ammo for your fire team. Homies running Aeons with a different sect will get a bit of bonus super energy when you hit that finisher. Unshockingly, this Aeon sect is arguably the most wanted on any fire team because free heavy ammo for finishing champions or any other mini-boss is fantastic. Also, keep in mind, while your loadouts are locked up in GM Nightfalls, that isn't the case in plenty of other challenging PvE content. Basically, if your team is running a little dry on heavy ammo, you can always open your menu, slap on Aeons, finish a champion, then swap right back. A great exotic overall and one of my personal favorites. Don't sleep on it, and next day one raid, on God, I'm running Sect of Vigor. Mark my words, literally write them down. But before we go any further, today's video is sponsored by Factor, so let's thank them real quick. Y'all know the drill by now. I still, to this day, get 4 Factor meals ordered every week, 2 for me and 2 for Anno. You could do more if you want, but I'm happy knowing that 2 nights per week, our dinner plans are all taken care of thanks to Factor. They send chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals right to our front door every week, and they'll do the same for you. Cut down on time spent on meal planning, meal prepping, shopping, and time spent in the grocery store. These meals come to you pre-packaged. All you gotta do is heat them up and you're good to go. Anno is still digging the honey mustard chicken, and I'm still on team tomato basil chicken risotto. That one really took me by surprise. I will be trying out the new Baja shrimp dish, by the way. I will let you know how that goes. I'm kind of a shrimp guy. They have a bunch of options to choose from, including Calorie Smart, Keto, Protein Plus, or Vegan and Veggie. Trust me, they'll have something for you. Don't wait. Head on over to factor75.com or click the link below and use code Fallout50 to get 50% off your first Factor box and 20% off your next month of orders. Again, that is code Fallout50 at factor75.com to get 50% off your first box and 20% off your next month of orders. Thank you, Factor. All right, we back. And now I want to talk about an exotic that is often overlooked for being ugly as sin. And no, I'm not talking about Cenotaph, although that is a criminally dunked on exotic design-wise, considering what it does bring to the table. Although, I mean, I do get it. I really do wonder sometimes if Bungie deliberately doesn't give certain exotics good ornaments because keeping them ugly may keep the usage rates down. Admit it, you all know at least one person who doesn't use a certain exotic because it looks stupid. And if you're shaking your head no, you're already wrong because you know me, and I fucking refuse to go near Kepri's horn. Yeah, I'm talking to you. Get the hell out of here. Trash. Excuse me. No, I'm actually talking about Verity's Brow, an exotic that way too many people don't put enough respect on. It's actually a really good example of an exotic that's been in the game for a long time, but hasn't been outright power crept to hell. Verity's exotic perk is grenade centered. Weapon kills matching your grenade energy type grant a stacking buff called Death Throws, stacking up to 5 times and lasting 10 seconds. That can also be reprocced at any level of stacks to refresh the timer, by the way. Death Throws grant you both more grenade damage and a better recharge rate. Here's the numbers on that, by the way, if you're interested. Plus 50% additional grenade regen rate and 20% increased grenade damage per stack. Already damn good. But the real kicker comes from what happens when you use those boosted grenades. If you're near a teammate and throw a Death Throws boosted nade, that teammate gains an absolutely insane 10 times grenade regen speed for the next 5 seconds, which is crazy, and I feel like we should be talking about that more. If you've ever watched a raid Sherpa helping people clear Vault of Glass, odds are you may have seen a really juiced Verity Warlock build in action. A dead giveaway would be if they're spamming an unholy amount of high damage grenades at Atheon, leading to a fairly easy clear. The usual suspect, of course, being fusion grenades, because they have a pretty high base damage and are boosted further by the Warlock Touch of Flame aspect. Having one of these on a team can already help via the crazy high boosted regen factor, but having multiple Verities cranks the numbers to wild levels, since they can all give each other that 10 times grenade regen multiple times, leading to really chaotic levels of bullfuckery. Although Verity itself might be a little weird to build around, it does have some really nice synergy with simpler perks and abilities that lead to some creative opportunities. Any weapon with Demolitionist will serve you quite well if you're working solo, but other than that, you can usually focus on just having a good special weapon that matches your grenade energy to spam high damage nades. You can even pivot a little bit and use something like healing grenades just to spam heal teammates. Finally, we come to my favorite, an exotic that I will literally throw rotten fruit at you if you speak down upon: Lumina. Can it give you golden gun shots out of thin air? No. Can it give you Wolfpack rounds? No. Is it even the best looking exotic hand cannon? Hell no. It looks plain, even dirty, covered in random smudges like you just got it back after lending it to your 9-year-old cousin. But yes, much like the Grail in Indy and the Last Crusade, Lumina is the true GOAT sitting among far shinier, prettier options, and I'll fight you if you say it's not fantastic. Lumina will generate remnants off any kill, basically little white globs if you're a completely new player and didn't know. Those remnants load noble rounds into your gun, which you can use whenever you want by just hip firing your Lumina. If a noble round hits your teammate, which ain't hard to do because they have a lot of inherent tracking, your teammate gets healed a little bit, but more importantly, both of you get a weapon damage buff for about 11 seconds. I tell you, dear viewer, you would be shocked at the number of folks I've talked to who don't know how good the damage buff is, thinking it's just fairly middle of the road. Now, admittedly, I acknowledge the fact that I'm a nerd and enjoy trying to memorize numbers and general game info. I know that not everybody is like me. But if you're either new to the game or just not big on weapon perk data, veterans will tell you Lumina's damage buff is plus 35%, aka stronger than even Warlock Radiant Well. Tell me if this sounds familiar. You're doing a dungeon or a raid or any DPS check at all and your team barely misses the cut. The boss has a bee's dick of health left. Now just ask yourself, did anyone bring a Lumina? Because if your only team empowering damage buff is coming from Radiant or a Warlock, well, Lumina's your extra gas in the tank, buddy boy. It's there when you need it for that tiny little extra push over the hill. You know how Divinity users are often viewed as the designated drivers of the community, and even though we make jokes like referring to them as the quote, div bitch, they're literally always greatly appreciated? Lumina users deserve that level of respect too. Lumina has been in my back pocket of many a day one raid and dungeon, not to mention GOA artifice armor farming or just using in general. It's just really good at what it does, and if you've never used it before, you heathen, here's the general rhythm. Depending on the encounter you're in, build up stacks by shredding adds before DPS phase. This will be even easier to do if you have the exotic catalyst, which gives you 2 remnants instead of 1. When damage phase begins, fire off a hip fire shot or 2 to proc Blessing of the Sky right away, then proceed with damage as normal. Try to keep an eye on your HUD during DPS, and when you notice your Blessing of the Sky timer has gone dry, just swap back to the gun and hip fire again. I know that seems kind of labor intensive, but again, stronger than Radiant Warlock Well. If your main DPS weapon is anything with bait and switch, it's actually a little bit more intuitive because you're going to need to whip out and fire all 3 of your weapons anyway. This just adds 1 quick extra step. Be the unsung hero of your fire team. Don't do it expecting praise, because most of the time they won't even know what's happening and they're not going to give it to you. Lumina isn't as obvious as Div or a Radiant Well or whatever. Do it because it's the right thing to do. And if Bungie gives us a new exotic that can smack an enemy with the power of 1,000 black holes, I mean, yeah, you know I'm going to use the hell out of that. Just remember that metas come and go, but Lumina is forever. I mean, unless Bungie nerfs it, in which case, fuck this game, I'm going to go play more Nemo Kart. If you use and love an exotic that you think is criminally underappreciated, tell me which one and why down in the comment section. Bonus points if you hit me with a really out there exotic. Thank you very much for watching. Peace!